All right. I think there's a little bit of a lag again, so I'm going to try to keep up with the chat over here and also do all this over here. And let me fix my laptop because I just realized it. I spent like an hour getting everything all nice and pretty, and then I made a really messy desk because that's the amazing thing that I do. And now, now it's real. Um, I'm just going to check the chat one more time to see how bad the lag is. It's pretty bad. Okay, I'll get used to it. It's fine. I decided because we're going to be doing arts and crafts things today, I wanted to try to like maximize resolution on this. So we're going to try this. This is going to be a good experiment because I have like 10,000 different versions of this software basically set up so I could switch between different screens. And what's hilarious is that in order to see my arts and crafts table, and for me to be able to have the camera at the right distance, I can't reach my laptop. So I have a mouse over here. We're going to see if this works. Also, my reading glasses don't go that far. And so I guess what I could conceivably do is go to my car, get my driving glasses, and then switch back and forth because I'm too cool for bifocals so far, um, which actually means that I'm foolish and vain. So I'm going to give this just a few more minutes because I know it's just turned like one after, and I know a couple folks. I was friends of mine were going to try to show up today. While we're waiting for just a few minutes to pass, what was I going to do? Oh, I was just going to tell y'all random stuff that's not really important and not related to anything, but just to be entertaining, hopefully. So, to normalize aggressively female anatomy or femme anatomy at least, as of 2 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago, am officially postmenopausal. Yay! No more of that stuff. At any rate, it's a wild ride. So, depending on how long my little demo takes, if there's anybody who wants to just be like, girl, let's like tuck into the chat about like all the drama and trauma that is menopause, I'm like, let's totally do that. It has nothing to do with magic, occultism, religion, or witchcraft, except when it has everything to do with that. All right, cool. Let's see. What else can I fill you in on? Not a whole lot. Well, let's go ahead and tuck into the demo today. All right. So I'm Heather Freeman. If you are brand new here, I'm the host of Magic in the United States. And around early February, around Groundhog's Day, I decided it would be, I don't know, maybe an interesting idea to try to do a little live stream where I made candles. I managed to not burn down my house. So achievement unlocked. And I decided maybe this would be a fun, another arts and crafts thing. Um, we are towards the end of April, getting ready for the beginning of May. And in contemporary paganism, one of the big holidays of the season is Beltane or May Eve or uh, here's the postmenopausal thing. My brain's going to like shut down on certain words. But at any rate, I was going to try to talk about that, but I didn't get a chance to like reread the chapter of Ronald Hutton's book Stations of the Sun because there's actually quite a lot to it. So maybe if I remember a little bit of that later on, we can tuck into that. But one of the big sort of contemporary pagan sort of arts and crafts things that people do for Beltane is they make a maypole. Um, Y'all, I have never made a maypole. I have never danced a maypole. This is not something that I am familiar with. Um, I used to make these like little like foot long like mini maypoles, and I would like stick them in my garden. And I thought about doing that, but I was like, you know what? I'm not. We're going to do something different. So we're going to do sigils instead. And before we get into sigils, we're going to talk a little bit about um, symbols and sigils and seals and like what is the difference of this? Like, what do all these different things mean? And so I will do my best to not totally misinform you. I'll just misinform you a little bit. So let me see if I am, oh, here we go. Cool. All right. So let's first talk about what a symbol is. Okay, so we're going to try to do this like I did last time. Oh, gosh, I love it when this technology works. Can I tell you? Like, I was joking with Justin in the chat about how I'm still amazed that I don't have a rotary phone. I mean, I love rotary phones. Let's be clear, that's really cool tech. But anyway, this is amazing. All right, so as you might be able to guess, this is a symbol for mail. It's just an envelope. It's a graphic representation of a envelope. I'm not going to get into like sign, symbol, signifier. We're just talking about this from the standpoint of magic and occultism and esoteric practices. But we use symbols all the time. So the I'm trying to think of another example, like a little red plus sign is like a symbol for medical care. And so symbols are really handy because if you need to convey something to another person and you don't say speak their language, you can use symbols to convey lots of really kind of complex information. It's sort of great. So then this, let's see, here we go. This, you might be like, okay, totally different. So most of you are starting to think probably, okay, medical care. This is a caduceus. It's the two snakes around the pole with the wings off the side. And so you're thinking, okay, this is a representation of medical care. But this actually relates to that envelope because the caduceus is a symbol that was carried by the Greek and also Roman gods, Hermes, Mercury, depending which one you're going for. And he's often associated with communication and what is included in communication, but mail. So he's also associated with travel. So mail, travel, all of that stuff sort of jives in. So for somebody like me, when I see a caduceus, I tend to think about Mercury or Hermes, and I tend to think about postal services. But for a lot of folks, if you don't have those sort of relationships with Hellenic or Roman deities, then this just might look like medical care. So sometimes the same symbol can actually have really, really different meanings for different people. All right, so here, let's go to the next one. Ta-da! All right, so I'm like moving my cursor around on my screen, so this is not helping. But if you see in the upper right-hand side that number 5, uh, there's like a little arrow with a line through it and a 5, and then next to that 5 is the planetary symbol for Mercury. This is an astrological chart, and so the signs, those symbols around the outer perimeter are representing the astrological signs. That this happens to be Mercury in Sagittarius, which is my solar sign. And Mercury, this is not my natal chart. I don't know whose chart this is. This is some other thing. But Mercury is basically, again, associated with communication, with travel, with trickery a little bit. I have a soft spot for trickster spirits. So anyway, that's a different representation of Mercury. So that caduceus and that Mercury symbol both can serve that purpose. If you are a chemist and interested in chemistry, then the capital H lowercase g would be another symbol of Mercury, but that's the chemical symbol of Mercury, the heavy metal. So that uses the same word, but they're very, very different things. And they have interesting histories. We won't get into it. But anyway, you can see how this starts to get really complex. Trust me, there's a point in all this. All right. So now what we're going to do, oops, oh, I missed one. Here we go. Okay, this is going to block me out for a second. Just bear with me. All right. And these are also symbols of mail. So notice, this is kind of cool. We have on the left-hand side, Mercury. Again, notice he's carrying that caduceus. And it's the seal of the post office department, or it's an old one. Then there's also the one with the horse, with a rider carrying the post. And now we have the one that we're most familiar with today on the bottom, which has that abstraction of the bald eagle, which is another symbol for the United States. So anyway, symbols are kind of great. And this is a stamp. And so when you mail things, you put a stamp on the envelope. Okay, when we're not doing email, right? You put a stamp on the envelope. And in a way, that stamp is also a symbol for the money that you paid to buy the stamp. Um, I actually don't know how the tech of stamps works anymore. Like somebody once was like, "Oh, it's really fascinating," and then I meant to go down that rabbit hole and I didn't. But at any rate, somehow there's machines that the mail runs through and it like reads the stamps and knows that it's a real stamp and not some fake stamp. But here is a jumping spider. I have a soft spot for spiders, also because my son has a soft spot for spiders. This time of year in North Carolina, the little jumping spiders are just coming out like not everywhere. It's not like crazy, but you see them a lot more. It's finally warm. The flowers are blooming. It's raining a lot, and I drive my son to school pretty much every morning. And there's like two different jumping spiders that are living in my car right now, and so my son and I are like building this relationship with these two little jumping spiders. And so I was like, you know what? Okay, for today's workshop, we're going to do something postal related. A number of, I think it was a couple of years ago, I had some conversations with some friends, and there was this idea of letters that get lost in the mail, right? Like what happens to them? Where do they go? I have particularly bad luck a lot of times with the post service, and the North Charlotte post office is great, right? Like my postal service is great. I think it's honestly me, but I started getting into the habit of making offerings to the great postal spider. So if you imagine the world of postal service communication, mail going out into the world in this great web, and there's this great ethereal spider who's like managing all this. I mean, this is you can play pretend. This doesn't have to be real. Just have fun. And so the great postal spider is there to like make sure everything goes out. And so I have some friends, and we'll mail each other stuff sometimes. And we, in the process of doing this, we'll make, what's the word? Oh, menopause. We'll make petitions. We'll make a petition to the great postal spider to bless our mail and to like let our mail go through swiftly on her webs to get to wherever it's supposed to go. So I'm going to make some seals, some stamps today to actually stamp on my mail to basically ask the great postal spider, because she's inclined towards postage, I would imagine, to help my mail get to where it's destined. The other part of that is we're going to talk about sigils. So let me see if I can go to. This is where I need my driving glasses. Okay. So you can't see me now. That's okay. This is a fantastic, really fun website. It's Trinary, that the software, the browser-based software, I guess, is called Trinary. I have the link there. It's chaostarot.com/app. And we're going to actually go to, let me see if I can get this. Hopefully this will work. Okay, hopefully, yes, you are seeing this now. Let me make sure I'm going to my Trinary website. Okay, so this is the Trinary page. And on this side over here, there's a bunch of different options for making a sigil. But basically the way it works is it creates a number grid. So let's go to the Mercury planetary symbols. And it shows us this grid of numbers. Now, this comes from historic magical texts. I can't recall offhand the OG one that has this. I'm gonna like hope that maybe one of my friends who's a better occultist than I am will remember and put in the chat like where we first get these from. I know that they show up in I think Agrippa. Hopefully, I think it's in Agrippa's 3 Books of Occult Philosophy. If not there, I'll find out. I'll post it to the Instagram page. But at any rate, the different grids have mathematical correspondences to different planets. So this is Mercury. If you look at Jupiter, it's a different grid. It's fewer numbers. If you go to the moon, it's a different one again. So we're going to use Mercury in this case. And if I typed into here a word, let's say, oh gosh, now I have to reach my keyboard. This is the hard part. I'll say, hi, spider. There we go. Oh gosh, this is really hard to type on here. You can see that each of these numbers corresponds with a letter, and so as you type in a phrase, it will draw a line between the different consonants. So in this particular sigil generator, it drops out all the vowels, so you can see right there underneath that text box. It says HSPDR, and then it shows you the sigil. And what you can do is you can draw this sigil on things, and it becomes an abstraction for this idea of saying, hi, spider. All right. So in Trinary, there's all these different versions of this. I mean, it goes on and on and on. And they have a bunch of really fun randomization tools. I have a soft spot for technology that's magically associated. So what I'm going to do is go to this witch's wheel. This is a contemporary invention. This is not early modern Renaissance magic or anything like that. But here you can see it. I'm showing this because it's in a circular format, which is kind of cool. And then it's also based on the alphabet. So if I said, bless this letter, great postal spider, then it shows something like this. And one of the things that I really appreciate about this app is that you can see how it's building that sigil, but you can also turn off that background so you can see just the abstraction itself. It's just kind of cute that way. So I already did this. I already made a couple sigils, and let me go back to my camera again. Let me see, where are we? There we go. Okay. I will get better at this. But anyway, I made a couple of these already, and I'll show you. And what we're going to do is we are going to carve these into stamps, and I'm going to show you how these stamps work on a different camera in just a second. But just so you know what tools I'm using for this, I'm using speedball brayers. You can get these at most arts and crafts supply stores. You can get them online too. They're not horribly expensive, or at least they used to not be. I don't know what they are nowadays. I think I got this for like $15 or something, but they're also really old, super rusty. Don't use rusty tools, kids. This is it looks like a giant eraser, and it basically is giant eraser material as far as I can tell. But this is really, really easy to carve. And if you're just getting started making prints or making stamps, and this basically is kind of stamp material, this is great stuff to get started on. Printmaking is so, so, so much fun. So a lot of you probably already know this, but my day job, and I'm an art professor, and one of the great things about being in an art department is I get to work with all these artists who do really amazing things. And so I'm going to actually show you. Let me go back to this for a second. Here we go. And I'm just going to show you some examples of woodcuts. So these are woodcuts from the early modern period, and this is from Public Domain Review. But here's the devil with the witches making offerings and all his little demons. And so wood print the kind of relief block printing that we're going to do has a really interesting history in relation to the history of ideas about witchcraft and the history of magic. And so here we have a witch feeding her familiars. Here we have an image of a familiar, and these were all carved basically out of wood. And anything that's white was carved away, and anything that's black was what was up high. And we're basically going to do this today, but we're going to do this on much softer material. And like I was saying, I like one of my great joys is getting to teach in an art department. So I'm just like plugging some artists that I know. Kenar 330 is Anya Kenar, who teaches printmaking with me. This is also a woodblock print, except it's ginormous. This thing is like 8 feet tall. It's amazing. And so if you go check out her her Instagram page. She has so many amazing prints. Here's some prints she did on fabric, and then the fabric's draped in the gallery. Anyway, I get to work with such amazing, amazing artists. And then Erik Waterkotte, so, and here's his name. Uh, is also a printmaking professor in the art department. And this is I believe this is a silkscreen printing. So there's lots of different kinds of printing methods. Today we're going to do relief printing, but there's silkscreen, there's intaglio, and Eric, let me see if I can find one of his lenticular things. Da-da. He got to do this cool residency in Poland not that long ago. I don't know if I can find his lenticular. I think this is it. Yeah. And this is like a lenticular. So if you remember those little plastic toys you can get where it's like a weird ridge, like plastic sheet and it has ridges on it, and you turn it and you see different images. So he got to make one of these, which I'm like, that's magic. So at any rate, let me go back to this. Dun, dun, dun. So anyway, printmaking is really, really cool. And I highly encourage you guys that if you're excited about this and you want to do more, a lot of cities will have printmaking studios in the city. A lot of universities will sometimes run, printmaking events. It's very, very community focused, which is one of the reasons why I really like printmakers and the printmaking community. Anyway, so in preparation for this, I was having a lot of fun. Um, I found these linotype cuts that I made when I think I was like 15, y'all. So this is like, I don't know. This was like my magical familiar when I was like a teenager. I don't know. It's just really cute. And if we have time later on, I'll show you this Intermission, which is a print exchange. So one of the things printmakers sometimes do is because they work in multiples, if you make one stamp, you can just print like 100 things, right? And so what printmakers will sometimes do is they'll do an exchange. So they'll give themselves a theme. They'll make whatever their printmaking thing is going to be. They make like 100 of it because making 10 is not that much harder than making five. And then they'll exchange it, so everybody gets a collection of like 20 prints by 20 different artists. So I have a couple of these. This is the advantage of working with in artist communities, that I'll do printmaking sometimes too. I'm not nearly the level of the printmakers. I know I'm a hack, but they let me hang out and play too. And then I get these great collections of amazing prints, and we'll look at that in a minute because that's really, really fun. But let us do the arts and crafts segment now. Yay! All right, let me just check. Blah, I can talk. Check the chat. Yay! All right, cool. Here we go. So let's talk about what we're actually going to make, and then we're going to make some of this. So let me flip this guy over. Is this like totally dark? This is kind of. It's fine. Everything's fine. All right. So, here are some stamps that I've carved out of this stuff. So this is this weird pink rubber stuff, and these I don't know if these are going to be visible at all, but they're basically little stamps that I carved into, and then when I stamp them, let me grab my stamp pad. Oh my gosh, Heather, be organized. All right, here we go. So I have my stamp pad. So I'm just gonna like stamp it like old school. My stamp pad is a little dry, this one, so hopefully this will work okay. We'll see. And let me go like this, and then I'll try to do this where you can see it. There we go. And then we'll push on that. So just like a stamp, just like a rubber stamp. There you go. That kind of worked okay. And look, it's a little deer. So you can, I don't know if you can tell, but that patterning in the background is from where I sort of loosely carved the background. So I left some areas still raised. And that's how you can make some texturing and patterning in this too. So the other thing is, oops, oh no, I just realized this stamp was like open this whole time. All right, where's another one of these guys I made? I got these on Etsy. These are like these great little stamps. They didn't come with this like really hacker backing, like the backing I did myself. But people have taken the Waite Smith tarot deck and made like little stamps with them. And so if you're a tarot reader, if you want to learn tarot reading, actually, this would be a great tool for learning tarot. You can like basically use this in your journal or something. So I love these little stamps because like I can just stamp it and then Shazam! There's my, oops, you can't see it. There's my little ace of pentacles right there. Here we go. Oh, focus. So anyway, these little tarot stamps are really cool. If I wanted to treat this magically, let's say, if I let's say wanted a job, let's go old school. People practice magic for really practical things a lot of the times. So if I wanted a new job, and I was like mailing in an application and it had sort of a dark envelope or something, or I was licking the envelope, I could put a little stamp under the edge, you know, where you lick it on the envelope and then lick it and then seal it. Nobody will ever notice it's there, but then you're just giving a little like, I'm going to start a new job because pentacles are associated with money sometimes, with material well-being, and it's sort of the ace is the beginning of things. So you can play around with tarot cards as like sigilized objects. Um, but at any rate, before we get to our actual sigils, there's a couple different methods for making an image. So here I have the Fool, going back with our tarot theme. I just realized it's backwards for you guys. Sorry about that. Anyway, it's this is going to get really confusing then, because I'm actually going to be talking about flipping around images. Hmm. This is where I should have planned better. Okay, well, bear with me. I'm going to make everybody super confused. And then when you do prints with your name, it's going to be backwards and it's going to be great. But anyway, um, let's say I wanted to use this little dog and I wanted and the word full underneath it. And I want this to be a little symbol for anytime I'm going to start something new and I want to be enthusiastic about it and excited. What I can do is use this, trace out this dog. So I'm sorry, I should have said, I'm using tracing paper. And I'm also using a 6B pencil. Pencils that are like an HB pencil or 2HB, these are really hard pencils, and they don't like leave a lot of residual. Oh my gosh, residue of graphite. So if you use like a 6B or an 8B or a 4B, like basically a higher number and a B, um, that that pencil will have a lot more sort of graphite to it. It's a little softer, and so it'll leave more of that material on the paper. And I'll show you why you want that in a minute. So I'm just going to trace out this little dog, because the dog is going to be the symbol of enthusiasm for starting new things. And don't worry if it's going to be a terrible idea eventually. Just, you only live once. Try things. That's the idea then. Easier said than done sometimes. Anyway, so here I have this little happy dog. And then I want this word fool underneath it. We're going to make the dog kind of jumping over the word fool. There we go. So I'm just going to trace out the word fool on my tracing paper. And here we go. And I'm going to give this dog a little crown because the Fool is his own kind of royalty, I think, in my humble opinion. All right, so there I have my traced image, and it's backwards. So it would look like this for you guys, basically. And then what I can do, because I use this nice soft HB, um, what is it called? Pencil. There we go. I can walk and chew gum at the same time. What I'm going to do is put this on my stamp pad, and I'm just going to hold it still, so I don't want it to move around, but I'm just going to use the back of my fingernail to kind of like rub over this. So if I used an HB pencil or a harder pencil, this wouldn't work. And there's definitely techniques I've seen people do where they use like hot irons and stuff like that. I'm just like, y'all, don't put like dangerous objects in my hand. It's not a great idea. It's just there's going to be burns and other things. But then if I pull this off, there's a dog. Now you just got to trust me because this looks the correct way to you. This is actually backwards, which is perfect because when I stamp it, then it's going to be the right way. So just take my word for that. But you want the letters to be backwards because when you flip it over and stamp it, then it will be the right way. And this is a rite of passage. So if you've never done printmaking, I promise you, you will at some point forget to reverse it. And then you will be, I am a real printmaker. I have arrived. And it'll be great. Okay, so let's actually get into carving stuff because that's where it gets dangerous. So here, I'm going to put back my hair for this so that I don't, you know, I don't know, do light my hair on fire somehow with my non flammable things. All right, so here I have a little sigil that I started. So if you remember that sigil generator that we had, okay, here we go. This was like basically a version of it. So I traced this out. I flipped this over. I started carving this a little bit just so that you didn't have to sit there and watch me. But I have like two different tools here, and these engravers, they have different sizes and different like widths and stuff. So this is a really, really tiny one. This guy is so rusty though. He's not really working that great. So that again, my flaws in pre-planning, because you can tell I don't do printmaking that often. But there's this idea when you draw sigils for magical purposes that you always draw in the direction of the letters that it spells out the word, and that act of drawing it out is sort of charging it magically. Now we're hacking the system a little bit in the sense that we're making a stamp, so we can just like use repetition to like reinforce that magically. Again, the beautiful thing about things like this is like you don't actually have to literally believe in magic, right? These are practices that are part of our intangible cultural heritage. So when you sing happy birthday to somebody, you're not really literally worrying about, if they're going to get their wish or not. I mean, obviously, if you care about somebody, you want them to get their wish. However, that's not why we sing happy birthday. We sing happy birthday because it is a cultural tradition that we do, and we don't know where it came from or why it's a thing that we do, but we do. Okay, now this sigil is weird because it kind of zigzagged over itself a bunch of times, and I think I lost my thread here while I was talking to you guys. So this will be, hey, this is a bad sigil. I'll probably not actually use this. I'll start over. I will make a sigil stamp for my stamps because I think that would be fun. And then like this. And if you have a hard time sometimes like getting off little like pieces of things, let me see, where are we? There we go. You can use an X-Acto blade to kind of like help get little doohickeys off. All right. So this looks really hacker, I realize. But one of the beautiful things about printmaking is that you can test out the print, and if it's not quite right and you need to take off more, you can keep carving it and keep printing. And that's actually how you can get multiple colors with one block. So sometimes people will like carve out just like a little bit, and then carve out more and more and more with different colors in between the prints. So I'm going to test this guy out. It's probably going to really look really weird, but that's all right. And one of the things that uh, is important to realize too with printmaking is it's subtractive in this case. So I can only cut away stuff, but if I cut away too much, then I'm kind of stuck. So if you cut away too much, then just be creative. Figure out a way to make it work. There's no haters in this. It's all just good. All right, so we'll see. I'm just going to check how it looks being inked. All right, and then I'll stamp this. Okay, it's it's pretty out there. All right, this is why I should have had a sharper tool with a smaller blade, then I'd be able to see the space between the lines. It's fine, everybody. I'll just, you know, make lemonade out of my lemons or whatever. Fortunately, I started another one. So here, let's look at this guy. So here's, if you remember from earlier, this is our symbol for Mercury, and I started carving this. Um, and let's see, checking the chat. And so I'm gonna just sort of carve around the corners. Now, I should have talked safety. If you've never done woodworking or anything like that, goal is keep your fingers away from the direction of the sharp edge. These are really, really sharp. And the advantage of this material is that it's really soft. So you don't have to push really hard. And when you're carving wood, sometimes depending on the wood you're carving, you're pushing so hard that it's possible to kind of lose control a little bit. So that's your goal, is like just work slowly, thoughtfully. If you're doing this for magical reasons, you're focusing on the intentions of what you're doing. Let me see, I'm going to switch my tools a little bit here. And then I'm going to start pulling out the negative space here. So the negative space is, in art speak, is the space around what you're trying, what your picture is of. So we'll try this. I'm not sure which tool I used last night when I was carving the other side. This is something where, like, I really like woodblock prints and relief prints where you can kind of see the direction of the grain of the wood, or if you're working on wood, or like the mark making, sort of like drawing that the artist uses. I'm not really paying attention to that much in this. Um, One thing too is that if you're interested in digital technologies, if you live in a city that has a makerspace, you can absolutely laser cut or laser engrave wood or other materials, plastic, all kinds of things, to make relief prints. So if you can draw it out digitally, or rasterize something that's a digital image, you can basically make a printmaking block out of it. The harder thing is that oh gosh, can I walk and chew gum? I think I can. I think I can. Um, the thing that's a little bit more challenging is um, if you're working on a really hard, like a plastic or something. That's easier for something like an intaglio print. So an intaglio printmaking, you basically squish the ink into the grooves that you've engraved away, and then you clean off the surface of the plate. And so then you use a really heavy press, and it presses basically the ink from those grooves into paper. So it's very, very different than relief printing, which is what we're doing. You kind of have to have a printing press to do that. However, you know, if you make friends with printmakers, one thing printmakers love to do is share the joy of printmaking with other people. That is one of those universal absolutes that I feel very confident saying, which is pretty much the only time I feel confident saying something like that. Printmakers are rad. I've met a lot of printmakers in my life, and they've been a good time. And they've all been real excited about printmaking. I'm sure there's the one printmaker somewhere who's a curmudgeon. Every community has curmudgeons. And I'm sure printmaking community, as if that's a monolith, has a curmudgeon somewhere too. But I'm not friends with them, so it doesn't really matter. All right. So, okay, cool. Here we go. I think we're about ready. We're ready to do a test. Let's put it that way. So, again, we'll flip this over. And let's go ahead and do a little test. We'll do it in green. And we'll just push down on the ink pad. There we go. And ta-da! Okay, that works better. but I've got one good print out of this. All right. So the nice thing about this, when you do little test prints, is that you can see if I wanted to make this like a really clean, like just that Mercury symbol, what I can do is I can look at this and see where that ink got on that stamp, and I can just keep going through and carving out some of those other areas. Mostly it's in the edges, so I'm actually just going to run this X-Acto blade along the edges, being sure not to run it along my finger. Achievable goals. This is why I do this on a live stream and not live, is that it would stress people out way too much to watch me do this live, because I am a menace with sharp objects. It's just not a good scene. All right, there we go. Yeah, cooking with gas or plastic. All right, and then I'm going to tidy up this corner a little bit more. I'm going to come in here. And to some extent, you know, if I push really hard, you know, this rubber is really, really soft. So if I push super hard on the whole stamp, it's going to get some of the background, you know. But that's okay. Like I said, I actually really like the texturing of this. So if I weren't trying to like do this relatively quickly because we're live streaming, I'd probably be like, no, like let's lean in. Let's go ahead and do this in wood. Let's like bust out a Dremel or something, and then like I know printmakers who are still lovely, but they might clutch their pearls at that, which is fair. I would clutch my pearls too. All right, let's do another little test of this guy. We just tidied it up just a little bit. It's probably not going to be that much different, but let's try it. And I won't push down quite so hard this time. I'll just do a little quick bonk. Ta-da! Anyway. Yeah, it's getting there. I might still do a little bit of cleanup on the bottom, but that is the bulk of the demo. All right, so I'm going to try something, which might not work because of the lag, but I wanted to play you guys. And hopefully, if anybody from PRX is here, hopefully they won't be mad at me. I'm going to go ahead and play for you the trailer for season 2, but I don't have monitoring turned on, I realize, in this, so I don't know that it's going to work. So hopefully start like waving your hands and screaming at me in chat if it's not working. Oh wait, I have a mouse here. That's right. I did this on purpose. Let me figure out which was the screen. Oh, I remember how I want to do this. All right. Hold on. Bear with me. This is going to happen in just a second.
Flowers. The first ripe berries. Music in the air. They're all symbols of springtime, love, and friendship. And they're also found on sacred altars and shrines across the U.S., where they're dedicated to gods, spirits, ancestors, even to the land itself. Somewhere, flowers adorn a newly cleaned ancestor shrine. Berries and cream are offered in friendship to a spirit. A love note to a tree hangs on tissue paper from a branch. But what should we make of these offerings? Are they magical practices, religious traditions, or are they something else entirely? I'm Heather Freeman. In Season 1 of Magic in the United States, we met some of the many witches, magicians, and spiritual seekers who shaped this country's magical landscape. And now we're back with Season 2. We'll time travel to a Wiccan tradition created by and for gay men in the 1970s, and to the origins of the social media tag manifesting in the 1800s. We'll learn how a Supreme Court case brought an African diaspora tradition to national attention, and how a Paiute dance became a profound religious movement. We'll reveal the history of Appalachian magical practices and unpack the religious controversies over Satanism.
This was a gay man who was being true to himself, who was really saying, no, my magic is valid, and I'm not going to be discounted here.
The Supreme Court said you can't pass a law to specifically target a leukemia community.
Magic and stuff aside, she's just a mom with witchcraft. You know, you get in trouble and your mom grounds you. I get in trouble, a candle is lit, and I'm grounded.
Thinking about how we might return the land to the people from whom it was dispossessed.
You can basically self-hypnotize by just reciting these affirmations and convince yourself that you're capable of amazing things.
Join me on May 7th for more magic, religion, and spiritual remixing in Season 2 of Magic in the United States, wherever you get your podcasts. I'll see you at the crossroads.
All right, I think that worked. Okay, cool. And let me go back to this. All right. Yes, Jenny Cataldo did such an amazing job mixing that. It was just, yeah, that's been a really fun one. Yeah, season 2, that trailer is actually going to officially drop into the feed on April 30th. Just before Beltane and May Eve. And Walpurgis Nacht, right, when the witches come out, Walpurgis Mountain. But this season, the first season is going to drop May 7th. We've got one more guest episode this coming week, which is a really great one. It's from A Little Juju, which is this amazing podcast series by Jujube. So the first episode, I'll just give you a quick rundown. We're going to be updating the website over the next week. The first episode is about the Minoan Brotherhood, which is comes off of initiatory Wicca, and it's the amazing story of Eddie Basinski and the Minoan Brotherhood and how that evolved. The second episode is about the Church of Lukumi Babaluaye and the Supreme Court case that the church against the city of Hialeah, where the city of Hialeah passed these ordinances that basically targeted the religious practices of this church. So that's going to be the next episode. Okay, wait, here's my menopause brain kicking in because we're editing these episodes right now as I'm speaking, or not, most of them aren't quite done yet. The next one is called hashtag Good Vibes Only, and it's about the history of New Thought and also how that relates to Christian Science, how that relates to The Secret. And so there's a lot of these common ideas that are woven throughout contemporary culture. You see them all over social media. And so we kind of backtrack them and try to figure out where these ideas come from. No, I don't tuck into the Kabbalion. I kind of really wanted to some other day, guys. Anyway, and then the next one is Montague and Duck Moore, which is a story from both The Silver Bullet and Folk Legends of Virginia. And it was a story collected during the Great Depression, during the Virginia Writers Project. It was a New Deal effort. And we're looking at that story to try to understand the idea of Appalachian folk magic and what that even is, but also what folklore can tell us about practices that people have, and sometimes what it can't tell us. So that's the next episode. And then the episode after that is about the ghost dance of 1880s and 1890s, which was a Paiute dance, and that spread to a number of different tribes. And it was both a religious movement, but also a resistance effort against U.S. federal policies that targeted Native and Indigenous practices, ceremonial practices, including dance. And so we'll talk about the role of dance. And that's a tricky one because Native and Indigenous practices are not magic. And actually even referring to them as religion is really tricky. That's a very Western and very particularly colonial word that has a very particular meaning that just doesn't work in that context. So we're going to talk about that in that episode. And then the last one is about Satanism. Woo! And we're going to talk about Levian Satanism. We're going to talk a little bit about satanic panics and moral panics and how they happen. And I'm in my fantasy world, somehow I'll manage to get an interview with either Mischief or Little Nas X or both. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't know. I'm putting this out into the YouTube universe. I would love to interview Little Nas X for this last episode. That'd be so cool. It'd be so cool. But anyway, but what we're gonna be talking about rationalist or atheistic Satanism, and we're also going to touch on theistic Satanism and kind of what that means because uh, even for pagans and contemporary magical practitioners, a lot of times people throw Satanists under the bus. And so we'll sort of tuck in and explore why that is, how that happens, and what moral panics are, and why they have us behave in such strange and very, very human ways, but ways that are often pretty destructive to communities. So that's basically season two, and I'm really pumped about it. I think we learned a lot in season one, and I feel like this season two is going to be like it's going to take what we were doing well, continue that, but I think we're doing some other things even better. And so I'm pretty pumped for everybody to hear this. Now, in the spirit of printmaking, I'm going to share with you an unboxing. Actually, I just haven't unboxed a lot of these. The Intermission print exchange. So print exchanges, y'all. These are the funnest things. Like, look, this is just the artists who are in it. So I want to show you first. Wait, let me see. Okay, I collaborated with my partner Jeff Murphy on this. So this was the one that we did. There's like a little 3D printed face on it from a stop motion animation I did, and it's backwards. You can't read it. It's printmaking. That's how we roll. All right, and then here's a relief print. This is an example. But guys, look, it's packaged. I haven't even opened it. I don't know if I'm going to. It's so beautiful. This one is a favorite. All right. Now wait for it. There's like printing on the back of this. Oh, wait. What? Oh, yes. Guys, they're stickers. And these are silkscreen prints. So these are like just amazing. I'm going to ruin this whole thing. There's a joke catalog, which I'm trying to see. I haven't checked if any of this is PG or not. Oh, okay. Here we go. How to order. Let's see. I'm not going to unbox this whole thing for you. I'm trying to find. This looks like one of Erik Waterkotte's. I don't know if this is. This feels very Erik Waterkotte. Look at that. That's cool. There's more. Again, I'm like terrified to open it because it's so cool. Guys, there's a cassette tape in this. I don't even have a way to like play it. But look, this card is like, this looks like a screen print too. I'm not sure. But someday I'll find a cassette player and play it. All right, wait for this. Printmakers are super into packaging design. Or we're going to open this because this is insane. Player piano roll paper, which I'm not going to unwrap it just yet. But in here, there is, wait, where did it go? There's a quote from Luigi Russolo from March 11th, 1913. And he says, I am not a musician, so that I have no acoustic preferences nor works to defend. I am a futurist painter who projects on a profoundly loved art his will to renew everything. This is why, bolder than bolder, the professional musician, totally unpreoccupied with my apparent incompetence, knowing that audacity gives all prerogatives and all possibilities, I have conceived the renovation of music through the art of noise. Anyway, so this is the thing that I was like, I love print exchanges. This was in with it. Let's totally plug this guy in. See if I can remember how to get it to work. It's got a little tiny speaker cone on it. Okay, I'll hold the speaker cone up to my thing. Let's see. And it's got like little sliders and switches on it. This is printmaking, y'all. I love this stuff so much. Okay, I'm not going to box this whole thing because I know everybody has lives, but there's this thing, Circus Orbis. There's comics. I don't know if Yvonne Choureau is in here. She does a lot with comics, but anyway, comics. Um, there's literally an LP, a screen printed LP. I actually do have an LP player, so that I could do. Um, there's this amazing thing with hair in it. Y'all, this is why I'm like, everybody should hang out with printmakers. There's like a whole bunch of other things. Oh gosh, what is this? Oh, it just gets better. There's like, oh, I'm gonna hang this up. 4 foot something something, 4 foot something club. Look, it's a hanging thing. Anyway, y'all should hang out with printmakers. They're really fun. Like, I might take a sabbatical from podcasting after the third season and just hang out with printmakers and print stuff and make things with Arduinos. Um, anyway, I will check the chat one more time. Sweet. All right. Well, that's basically all I have. I didn't have more than this. So I'm gonna go. If anybody wants to chat in any questions about anything, I'm also gonna grab my phone, which is on the other side, to see if there's any messages from that. Hold on. Da-da-da. Let's see. Oh, yes. Share the link to the Sigil Maker website. Yes, actually, I'm gonna put that up again because I actually don't remember the site URL myself. Oh, you know what I can do here? I'm gonna, I am gonna go to the computer. Sorry, this is gonna be chaos for a minute. You're gonna be like, I can see too much of your face. I'll be like, suck it up. That's what my husband has to deal with every day. I'm just being silly. All right, let's see. Let me see if I can do this. Um, I'm trying to like be really extra fancy. Okay, that's a little extra. Let me hold on. Oh, I see how this is working. You guys can't even see this yet. All right, hold on. I actually have this figured out. Nope, maybe I don't. Oh, no, I know how I should do this. Hold on. Bear with me. Bear with me. There we go. Okay, technology. All right, there we go. I I could have probably just like typed that into the chat, but um yeah. So yeah, the so this is it's called Trinary. I'll just type in Trinary. So if you Google Trinary sigil generator, you'll find it. And on that sidebar, there's just like tons and tons of tools on there. So there's random number generators, digital divination tools. It's pretty great. But the sigil generators are so fun. And there's ones where you can do the same thing. You like type in like blessings be upon me, great postal spider. But it'll give you like musical notation for it. It'll do it in sign language, American Sign Language. There's like it's braille. Like it'll just be like, yeah, sure. Here's a bunch of different ways you can sigilize this. Um, it's so cool. Let's see. Any other things? I'm just like trying to think what else there is cool to tell you. If you haven't had a chance to listen to any of the guest episodes, so basically like once a month we've been dropping other podcasts in the feed just to kind of keep the feed going. And like I said, this coming Tuesday, it's Juju Bays, who just recently went through her initiation in Ifa as a priestess of Oshun. If I remember, her new name is Oshun Fumilola. Um, and she it's just an excerpt we're presenting from that it's like the first episode of her new season. And it's so beautiful. Like she's just so generous and like talking about what that experience was like for her. And she has great guests and like it's a really cool podcast. Especially if you're a practitioner. If you're not a practitioner, it's a lot. It could be a lot. But if you're a practitioner, there's so much amazing information there. And even if you're not a practitioner, if you really want to know more about yeah, just a lot of the different guests she has on there and a lot of the topics she covers. Um, and then there's also was a feed from Seeking Witchcraft and Dining with the Divine, the Arnemancy podcast. So if you're not familiar with these podcasts, especially if they are mostly by practitioners, for practitioners, but I think it's a really good way to get an insight into just the vast diversity and plurality of practices that make this up. Let's see. Yeah, okay. I think that's all we got. So, everybody have a lovely rest of your weekend, however much weekend you have left, and have a great next couple of weeks. Wish me luck as we ramp up and get ready for the drop of season 2 of Magic in the United States, because I have a lot of work to do. But it's going to be really great. I'm really excited. And shout out to the PRX team. If there's anybody here or if you see it later, you all are amazing, and I'm so grateful that I get to work with you. That's that. All right. Besos, besos. I'll talk to y'all later. And stop streaming now.